Hello, everybody. How are you? What's happening? Hope you're having a fantastic day today. Hope your ascension dreams are coming through. Hope you're vibrating at a very high level. Hope you're manifesting everything you've ever wanted in your life. But if not, our
We
guest
got the guy
here,
for
yeah. John Hernandez is here today. Alchemy Abundance: How to Turn Epic Failures to Multi-Million-Dollar Successes. His website's scrolling there, as you can see. So make sure you do check him out. Also, too, there's also a link in the description below that if you'd like to, you can get 2 free ebooks there: 12 Universal Laws Decoded, and also Abundance Alchemy. And then you're going to start noticing on Gnostic TV, Spiritually Raw, we're going to have some guest co-hosts there, which is pretty cool because we had a lot of people wanting to be on the show. So Tara Crete, you'll start seeing her. So that's pretty cool for us. And
you guys are lovers. She's
yeah,
really,
you guys really love her too. So
interview dynamo.
Yeah, she really is. So enough about that, though. What about John?
Yeah, let's talk more about John.
Sure,
So I would say.
Sure, you'd like to. He has a super interesting career. It spans over 3 decades. He's been in the forefront of professional sales and management training. About 10 years ago, him and his partner embarked on an entrepreneurial journey, and they founded their own company. Today, it stands a testament to their vision. They've grown it literally into a multi-million-dollar corporation. Congratulations, that is very impressive. And now, like many, John has experienced epic failures. However, he continues to learn from them by identifying his blocks and seeing action upon his potential and the willing to take the risks.
Yeah, this is so cool, everybody.
Yeah,
and
I love these topics.
I love them too. And this is exactly why we are having guest hosts on Spiritually Raw, because April and I, we talk about the 5D economy, which is becoming abundant by helping others become abundant. So we want to meet with people like John to find out, hey, what are they doing? Like, how can they help us in our journey in life? Because they've done it, which means it can be done. So, Brother John, thanks for your service, and let's get to know you. What do you say?
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, cool. So, when you take a look at in context of breakthroughs and everything like that, what was some of the pivotal moments, or what, like with you and your partner with this company, what was your pivotal moment where you knew you had to break through? That was like, okay, we got it. And if we can get through this part, whatever that part was defined as, that gave you the light there to see. Can you help us understand what that was?
Yeah. So a breakthrough point, it's kind of ongoing, actually. It starts with taking risks, but really it starts with self-trust. And that's the catalyst. And we'll talk more about how alchemy fits into all this. That's the catalyst for moving forward, and that's what I found when I was in a place of what I call the imposter syndrome, is not thinking, okay, I have what I need, I have what it takes. The world is very small. When I moved through that, not past it, but through it, and got to the place of really, really trusting what I had to say was important, what the gifts that I have are important, that opened up a whole new world. And we started attracting more and more folks to follow our vision and to see our vision, and then to bring us in to help them with their vision.
You are the CEO of alchemycoachinginstitute.com.
Mm-hmm.
Alchemy, for a lot of people, is very confusing.
Yes.
Quite frankly, it took me years to figure out what alchemy really, really meant. A lot of people think it's just, turning some type of metal into gold. How are you using alchemy for your financial success? And what is alchemy from your perspective?
Sure. So thank you. That's a great question. So let me unpack the word alchemy for a moment. Alchemy is used as a jargon term all over the place. People use it. Oh, I have the alchemy pet food, or whatever it might be.
Right.
Because the common notion, and this is what most people think, led into gold. Kind of that's a general analogy, but alchemy is an actual art and science. It grew up from its oldest distant past days in pharaonic Egypt, and then really blossomed into Alexandria in Egypt, and at the same time it was growing up in the East. And a lot of folks know the word yoga or Tai Chi or Qigong or certain types of Buddhism. Those are all Eastern forms of alchemy, and then we've got the Western forms. They're very, very similar. But anyway, it's an actual art and a science. And the Western version, which I use, has been an unbroken chain basically since then. And a guild was started in the 1500s, and that guild is still going strong. So that's where I got my certification with, as far as working and using alchemy and what it is. And so I use that today, that actual art and science. So what is alchemy defined? Moving one thing from one state to another. We call it transmutation. How is it different from transformation? We hear transformation a lot. Transmutation is a permanent form of transformation. So if I have a transforming experience, but maybe 3 or 4 years from now, something happens and it knocks me back a few steps, I've now gone back and now I have to redo it again. Once you're in a transmuted state, you're in a new state. You can't go back to that again. So that's really what transmutation and alchemy is.
It's a big difference. It's a huge difference.
When you look at people that are looking to get into small businesses or any businesses, so what are you finding is a common denominator that stops them? I mean, what's their thing? Is it a fear of success? Is it fear of failure? I mean, what do you see with people?
Yes, the common denominator is the person, me in that case, and it's very this is where alchemy really comes in, because it can unearth, so to speak, what's really going on. It could be the fear of success or failure. They're tied very closely together. But with alchemy, we're going and we're diving. It says visit the interior. There's a phrase. It says visit the interior of the earth, rectify what you find there, and you'll discover the hidden meaning of the stone. So basically, that means going deep inside and finding out what is the root cause that's causing this message that's impacting me in my not only business world, but personal relationship world and how I am in the world. And so when I work with folks, we go and we dive down deep into that. Peter Gabriel says, digging in the dirt to find the places where we got hurt. It's very, very much like that in a lot of ways.
Now that we kind of understand what it means, how do you actually apply this stuff? How do you apply alchemy into not only manifesting your financial dreams, just everyday life for better well-being and happiness?
Mm-hmm. Another great question. So this is really where the rubber meets the road, and where I love to do the work, is because unless we apply it to everyday life, then it's just reading another philosophy book.
Exactly.
So this is a critical point in the work, and it's called the magnum opus, or the great work, because it's ongoing. It's not like I give you something and then you stop. I'm constantly working it. I'm constantly learning new things. So what does that do? I use the alchemical modalities and processes to, once we uncover that, then there's a certain set of tools, depending on the situation, that you can have, that you can use in everyday life. So as an example, a lot of times in spiritual, ritual, or ceremonial work, there's these very elaborate or long processes that can happen. You know, we're setting up spaces, we're doing certain movements, there's all kinds of things. Well, if I have a meeting and I'm from one office to another, or from getting out of my car and walking in, I can't be doing all that. So I need something that I can take with me in a 1 or 2 minute period. So what I do is I help guide the folks that I'm working with to get that tool set, so they can access what they need to access in that moment, get whatever extra thrust they need to go into that meeting, as an example.
So is it like a mindset? Is it a mindset thing? Like really just like making sure that, they got the discipline to get their their mind in that right frame of mind before they go into that proverbial meeting? Or
yes and no. So basically what happens is, let's say I'm going to do public speaking event. This is a big one for a lot of folks. And there's a certain amount of people there. And by the way, that's another thing I teach. It's just a number, whether I'm talking to one person or 20,000, it's a number. But there's certain kinds of stage fright that comes up. I'm a musician, so I get this all the time, even though I've been a professional musician for most of my life. But that's a healthy piece. So what I'm going to do is, I know that that's a body sensation that's telling me something is about to happen. That then I identify with, and then I run the alchemical formula, the quick one, and say, okay, I see what that is. I now know what I need to do. I pull up from the lessons and the learnings and the tools that I got, and I then move myself into that place and can deliver that piece in a powerful way.
So can you literally take us through that? What is it that you're pulling up from the past that is giving you the foundation to crack that fear of stage fright?
Okay. So again, I'll take from my example. So if I believe, if a past belief system says what I have to say is not important, therefore I'm not important, for me to go out and do a public speaking piece is going to be so scary that I might just freeze up. Or a deer in the headlights, which has happened to me, by the way.
Yeah.
Not once, but several times. And so with this modality, what I do is I train using alchemical modalities. And what does that mean? That means we use a lot of imagery work. Imagination work is key in alchemy. Whether you're making a medicinal piece, or you're working with metals, or you're working on yourself, it's all part of the work.
We have a little screaming issue there.
Hang on, people. It'll iron the kink out.
Got you back there?
Go. Yeah.
Okay. So we missed a little bit of that. Can you repeat that again? Because we had a little screaming hiccup.
Okay. So I'm going into the event. I have this fear come up. That fear is a body indicator that I now know is a sign for something else. So I'm going to pull from my tool set, and the tool set comes from a series of processes that I do with my coaching folks or my students or whomever. And in alchemy, if anyone out there has ever looked into that, you'll notice that there's tons of these really bizarre images, lots of images out there, lots of wood cuttings and artwork, and it all is very, very wild. But they all mean something. But those images fire directly into the subconscious. And so if I say an image, that image will come up right away, and that image evokes an emotional response, which then, this is all happening in a matter of seconds, which then gives me what I need in that moment.
So these specific images, they're like quote unquote the alchemy images that are scientifically been able to show through time that if one were to watch or look at that one particular image, it's going to trigger a certain effect. Is that how this is?
Right, exactly. And it's, and it could be a piece of art too, not that I would use that in an alchemical process or in a coaching process, but a piece of art is a great example of evoking that emotional response. So if let's say you're a Van Gogh fan, and you look at a Van Gogh piece, and that's eliciting an emotional response inside you, because that image is going straight into the subconscious, a lot more than what I'm talking about now. You'll probably remember like 2% of what I'm saying, but if I showed you that image, it immediately, or you hear a piece of music that brings you right back to a moment in the past. So these are the alchemical modalities that we use so that you can get that piece in a moment in the everyday life. Whether you're standing in line at Whole Foods, which happened to me, and I decided, okay, I know my patience is wearing thin because there's 5-6 people ahead of me, so I'm going to go and do a quick piece. This actually happened in the the checkout person said, "Were you sleeping just then?" And I said, "No, I was doing something else."
So you get yourself disciplined to the point where you're
That's good.
aware when there's an issue. You're able to
Trigger your mind.
instead of letting the issue just fester and whatever run your day out. You were able to if I may ask it this way, is it that you're helping people understand when these triggers happen and immediately have the reaction point to it, right?
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly. Before they go over what I call the abyss. And then they're in it. And now they're in their natural behavioral response systems, which may not be so good right now. And this is a lot, even in personal relationships, there's a lot of the issues for married couples is each one of them has their own piece and they're in it. And when they're in it, it's really difficult to get out. So it's about identifying those pieces before, working with the modalities to get to that point. And it's ongoing. It's never like it never goes away. And that's okay.
So you just get better.
You try to diffuse or create any type of future tsunami.
Well, okay, let me ask you this from a perspective. Do you think a lot of these things come because a lot of people, so there's the triggers that happen. So if we can go back a little deeper with that, right? So we all got triggers and how that shakes out. What do you think from your experience working with your clients and everything like that, to put it in perspective, what generally triggers the triggers? I mean, what are the deep-seated things that are laying within them that get them to maybe want to snap at a Whole Foods or whatever, just run someone over, just, they just, they're not
go postal,
have regrets afterwards. What are generally there? Is it that, what's your views on what activates all that?
So in the initial part of the work that I do with folks is we uncover that. We use that alchemical formula, visit the interior. We find out what's lying underneath all that. And usually, so in a nutshell, here's what I believe, that we're born in a very pure state, in a very, very curious, blissful state. And everything around us is great, or we're trying to survive, or we're asking for food by crying, whatever. And then things start covering that up, whether it's family dynamics, cultural dynamics, political dynamics, community dynamics. And then we each put on a mask. I should have brought mine. It's over there. We each put on a mask to learn to survive in each one of those boxes. And again, this is very general, by the way, but put on this mask, and this mask works. It's like, okay, I figured out how to get around this. Like for me, I figured out how to use humor in order to survive as the one that was never picked on a sports team and the one that was always made fun of, and I never got accepted. So I learned something. I put on a mask. I could be funny and I could be accepted. Well, that stuff doesn't work so well as adults. It worked great to survive until that point. So what the alchemical process does is it basically finds that hidden stone, the philosopher's stone, as we call it, which is basically your core essence, which is always there. And it lies beneath and before all that stuff that got. But here's where all the work is, unpacking all those, because those will never go away. And they will be triggered, as you were saying, in a moment's notice, because something will happen that will trigger the brain, the reptilian part, the small part, and we're in fight and flight. And that part of our brain has no temporal memory at all. So what's happening now is what was happening when I was 4 years old. There's no.
Do you think a lot of this, John, stems from the fact, like upbringing, where quote unquote people don't explore, let's quote unquote call it their dark side to the extent that they should, and when that dark feature does come up, they're not prepared for it, and you know what I mean? So, and that follow up with that, should we, so these triggers don't happen, dive deeper into not do the dark things, but explore what the dark side is within us, so we understand what to do when the triggers happen. What's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, absolutely. So I call it the shadow side, and I like to make sure that folks know that's not an evil or a bad part. This is just a part of us that lies in wait to sabotage us. That's the mask that we put on. And this is, by the way, a great time of year because we're in the darkest part of the year. It's a great time, and I'm wearing black. It's a great time to explore those pieces because in this type of work, it's not always about being in the light. You can't really do that part of the work unless you explore the shadow pieces.
Mm-hmm.
And when you learn ultimately to make friends with that part of yourself, then you can uncover the hidden gold that lies in wait underneath that shadow. But here's the rub. The shadow never goes away. It's always there. But what we learn to do is manage it. And there's alchemical images that really demonstrate that well. And all I have to do is say, hey, bring up the sovereign with the dragon image. And right away, okay, there it is. And that,
so there's that. When you said that, bring up the sovereign with the dragon images, is that something you're embedding a command to your subconscious or your conscious to bring up for you? Or
yes, it's something that I remember that image. I can see it in my mind. And that then is the catalyst to move me into a different direction in that moment. That's where imagery is so critical in alchemy. And that's where I think my modality using this old art and science is a very powerful piece to get you to one point or another. And like I I tell folks, my coaching is not the end all. There's a million coaches out there, and a lot of them are excellent. And a lot of them are really good at doing, like for business, and giving you business systems guidance and working through that and negotiation and all these things. But I'm the connection between you and where those things start. Because those things are all good, but unless you can move through that and have actual tool set, it's very hard then to implement and to keep that stuff going. So I look at it as coaches as a team. So I work great with other coaches.
How has taking risks for you evolved throughout your career?
Another good question. So taking risks is a part of business, and like as you alluded to, I've had epic successes and biblical failures, as I say. So
that's a good one.
We've taken on some stuff that was so far out of our wheelhouse. It's like, what are we doing? But there's no possibility of growth unless we try. But then this is where the alchemy work comes in. We separate us from the risk. In other words, I took the risk, but if the risk doesn't pan out, that doesn't mean I'm the mistake and I'm the failure. That means the risk didn't pan out. Well, I think what happens is a lot of folks can get tangled in, like I'm the failure if what the risk that I took didn't work out. That's what we have to separate out. And so therefore risks become a lot less scary. And
you're complete. So you got to get to the point of where you are completely unattached to the outcome. You give it all you got.
Right.
But whatever it is what it. I mean, that's where you got to get to, right?
Mm-hmm.
Right. And if I don't take the risk, then that's what I call a non-zero chance of success. Meaning, there's no way that'll ever happen if I don't do something about it. So alchemy is a very practical working. I call it intention attention. So the intention is the vision, and then the attention is doing something about it. And I think a lot of times in certain spiritual modalities, there's the intention, which is great, but putting an image of something I want on the wall that's not really where the formula is. Right. That's only the first part. Now I have to do something about it. And that's where the risks come in.
We recently had a friend in their 60s who literally just one day said, you know what, I'm selling my house and I'm moving and my whole life is changing. And we're like, wow, this is a huge, bold move for someone at your age, right? I mean, it was a complete turnaround. But there's so many people that are like, geez, I want to do that. And I know I can do that, but for whatever reason, they don't do it.
Mm-hmm.
So how do you balance that from actually taking the dream of wanting to do it and releasing the fear of it?
It comes to me, it's very much the same side of the coin. So the dream and the fear are together.
Right.
At least I don't know of any risk I've ever taken where there hasn't been a level of fear involved. And again, that fear can be a healthy fear, like I was talking about stage fright. So in alchemy, which is kind of similar to a keto in a way, where we take that energy and transmute it into a catalyst to move through the fear, acknowledge the fear, move through the fear, and then move to the point where we're going to take an action about it. So there's a whole process around that's involved as well.
Do you feel like the people that come to you, John, that they got a sense of something's they're not missing, right? So they're coming to you. Do you think for the most part when they get to you, is it almost like they know, but they need you or someone like you to be able to just validate it and really just say, okay, just let there. I mean, are they for the most part almost there, or like when people come to you, they're completely just, in complete disarray?
There's a wide range of that. Some folks coming to me because they're completely like together and everything's great, but they're curious about what the heck alchemy is and how that might work for them. And all of a sudden now they're uncovering stuff that they never knew was in their possible potential. And then I get some folks that are really in need of something very, very specific as far as where their work is. And the common denominator is most have not identified the root causes yet. And that's what we find. And again, this is no fault this is natural human nature. I mean, I'm 65 and I'm still uncovering stuff, and that's okay. It's like, well, shoot, I should have been done with this when I'm 40. Well, no, time is when time is. Things come when they come. So remaining open to the possibility that not only is there more, there's always more, but that now I can look at it and befriend it and have some fun with it and then move it forward and through.
Is the fear of success and the fear of failure really the same thing?
Yeah. Because the fear is the fear. What happens if I become too successful? What happens to my life? Now, these are all things that are going on subconsciously. And I'm not comfortable with that, but I'm comfortable knowing that I'm fine where I'm at. Everything is known. There's no unknown here. I know exactly what I'm doing. I know, but if I get to this level, then what's going to happen? Now consciously I might think, well, there is no issue here because I'll have all this money and everything's going to be great. But if that were the case, I might already be there. So there's some payoff about being comfortable. On the other hand, the fear of failure is, well, then again, I'm the failure, not what I'm doing is the failure. And I don't want to go there because that's icky. So, so that's why I say they're on the same side of the coin, because there's something there one way or the other. So if I strive to be successful and I put some kind of, I don't know, attachment, like you're saying, of what that looks like, and I don't achieve it, then therefore I'm still a failure. But what you said is very apropos. If I let go of that attachment and say, I'm going to go for it because I'm going to step into the unknown and it's going to serve me one way or another. That's a very go ahead.
At 65, your life's wisdom, you wear it well, by the way. So congratulations. You're doing well with that.
Very well.
What wisdom can you embark upon us that can say, look, that some regrets that you may have kind of been at certain pivotal points, like, oh man, I wish I would have at that point. I wish I would have at that point. I mean, when people go through the stages of life, nothing in a lot of times, really, in my opinion, beats wisdom. What wisdom can you shed light on to people that are at that place right now about when to start, when to give up, when to not give up, how to keep going, all of that. I mean,
when to pivot.
Yeah, when to pivot. I mean, what about you for yourself? Anything that you can look back on and say, like, if it was, I wish I would have done this, or do you feel like, hey, you just ran that road?
Huh. That's an excellent question. The way I kind of hold that now is that everything in my life, the failures, the misses, I'm on my fourth marriage. We've been together for 29 years, and my wife says I'm too tired to run now. But I'm doing the deep work. But I was a serial monogamist back then, and I didn't, what was the common denominator? Me. But do I have regrets? Yes, I have some regrets. And I also know that if I had changed any one thing in that past, I wouldn't be on this interview right now. So there's an interesting way that I hold that now, that life lessons happen. Now I can give all the wisdom I can, but you have to choose if you're going to use any of it, or if it even fits for you. It's like, what the hell is he saying?
Yeah.
It doesn't work. So the only thing I come is, again, live life. There's going to be misses, but you're not the mistake. It's a miss, and learn from it. That's the key piece. Do something different next time, and then go from there. And what I am is kind of a guide, or you'll see one of my latest blog posts. I just did a blog on the lighthouse. The lighthouse holds strong no matter how many waves and storms. It's still shining the light out there. And so if I can even impact one person, my job is complete, the way I look at it.
Well said.
So you're not the mistake. Moral of the story, everybody. You're not the mistake. That's pretty good. I like that a lot. So when people go to Alchemy Coaching Institute, what experience would you like for them to get? What would you like for them to do to be better prepared before you have that chat with them or conversation so you can learn about?
Great. Yeah. So the invitation there is, there will be there's a place they could say work with John, and then I'll get back to them. We schedule a free 15, 20 minute, I'm not attached to the time if it's whatever it is. But I also want to respect folks' time. And then I'll send you out an email that has a couple of basic questions on what drew you to this, what do you see as the things you want to move through, and there might be a few other questions, and we look at that. You can read my blogs on my site. To get a feel for what I do. Things just come to me in the moment, and then I'll write about them. And then the session is really to learn more about if it's a good fit for both of us, because it's if it doesn't look like I'm the right fit, that's great. If it looks like that this work is not going to be for them, then that's great also. And I'm really honest about that. I've said no to a few folks. Folks thinking that I can somehow give them some miracle quick fix and do some woogie alchemy on them, and that or something out there is going to be the person to fix them, then they're not called to do the work. The work in alchemy is always internal, always.
Right.
Always
There's no overnight cure.
No,
Yeah.
Believe me, if there was,
There's no magic wand,
yeah.
right? At least I haven't found it yet.
There's magic involved, but it's not overnight.
Yeah,
You got it. That's for sure. Thank you so much, John. This has been a great conversation, and sharing all of your knowledge and enlightenment with all of us. We appreciate you so much. And together, with your help, we are turning the universal key to global harmony and creating a unified world. Thank you so much for tuning in.
Thank you for having me. I really appreciate the time. And yes, evolution is a slow process, but it starts with us. So.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for tuning in. And remember, tune in often, tell all your friends, and most importantly, may all your dreams come true. Please hit the like button and the subscribe. Much love to each and every one.
See you next time.